of the few people who chooses not to drive for personal reasons. I mean, he just doesn't want to drive. But he spoke to one rider out on the East End, which saw the increased service on Sunday, and he said, thanks to Sunday service, I can now spend time with my son on Sunday because I could not do that without this bus. So that's just a heartfelt way that we can see that really prioritizing our public transit can really impact the lives of those who really need it. So open to questions, appreciate there's so much more behind this. Happy to answer any questions.
That was great, Anita. It sounds like you guys are doing some great work there. And, you know, it is true that when we look at bus service, that is a real key component to transit opportunities. I mean, let's face it, there's only so much rail that we can, you know, notwithstanding the second track and the third track and those opportunities. Some of the areas in Suffolk County, particularly the north-south routes that are just starved for, you know, finding ways to get people from, you know, the North Shore of Long Island down to the South Shore. And Suffolk County, there are a lot of things happening with Suffolk County, looking at some of their bus service, but keep holding up the signs because you know, it does promote change. And so finally on the panel we have Rosemary Miscali, and she's with Transit Solutions. And I just love to hear these different ideas and different things that are going on, that are happening, that, you know, probably most of us are not aware of. Like I'm thinking, should I take that poll to say how many people in the last 12 months have taken some sort of transit on Long Island other than the Long Island Railroad? Okay, so that's good. But what that does mean is that there's opportunity for everybody in some way, shape, or form to participate with transit. So I'll give you Rosemary.
Hi, thank you to Vision Long Island for having me here. Transit Solutions is a program of the MTA that promotes transit ridership to improve our air quality. We're actually a federally funded program. And we focus in two primary areas. One is just to build awareness of the transit system that we have. Because most people are familiar with the Long Island Railroad station and how to get into Manhattan. But they're not as familiar with the bus system in Suffolk County, the bus system in Nassau County, even the intra-island fare opportunities on the Long Island Railroad to be able to get around. So we conduct a lot of transportation days at companies, at schools, libraries, in educating people about the transit system. We distribute a lot of maps and schedules, answer questions about how to get around. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the transit options on Long Island, so the people here who haven't been on the buses can learn a little about it. The other thing that we do is we encourage Long Island companies to implement the pre-tax commuter benefit program. And that's an IRS provision that allows employees to use pre-tax dollars to pay for their transit expenses. This is a big opportunity on Long Island. We have currently I'd say about 10, maybe 10% of the Long Island Railroad riders are reverse peak or intra-island, so that's about 30,000 riders on the Long Island Railroad. We have 100,000 riders on Nice Bus every day, and we have another 20,000 riders on Suffolk County Bus. If you assume that only half of them are going to work, the opportunity, if everyone was covered by the pre-tax transit benefit program, is $35 million a year. That's a $35 million a year subsidy that the region is for the most part not getting. I estimate that about 10% of Long Island workers that are using the transit system are covered by the transit benefit program. That's worth $600 a year to them. And if Senator Schumer is successful in getting that increased, which he's been advocating to do, to get that increased to $250 in January, that would be twice as much money. So you talk about your advocacy for your riders. So we have been successful in getting the large employers to offer this benefit. So employees of North Shore LIJ, Winthrop, Cablevision, major colleges are all covered by this benefit. But the challenge is, we all know we're a community of small and mid-sized companies. So many companies say, well, everybody drives. I got only one person that uses the bus. Well, we got one person here, one person there, one person there. It adds up to a $35 million loss of subsidy. So if there's one takeaway that I could ask of you as transit advocates being here, is try to encourage any companies or organizations you know to offer their employees the transit benefit program. It costs them nothing to offer it. They get a tax benefit as well because the company doesn't pay the portion of the FICA tax that they would have paid on that amount. And it's a great way to mitigate any fare increases. We talked about where we're going to do funding. We have a $35 million subsidy that is just on the table that is wasted every year by Long Island companies and employers not offering this benefit. So let me go back now to educating you a little about the transit system. Every time I hear someone say there's no north-south connections, and it came up twice, right? That's the buzzword. There's no north-south. I cringe because it's part of the issue in not knowing what the transit options are. The flagship bus route for Suffolk County Transit is the S1 bus. It goes all the way from Huntington down to Amityville. Now, that is not, we all talk about it's not a fixed route service, it stops every quarter mile, it takes too long. But the problem with all of us that know that, then we understand that we want to get better. We need bus rapid transit or things to make it better, get more ridership. But for the general population, they have no idea that there's a bus on that. And there are some options that they do have. You take in Nassau County, there's the S25 bus that goes all the way from Great Neck down to Lynbrook. It connects 3 different railroad stations along the way. There's the S27 bus that goes from Glen Cove down to Roosevelt Field. There are numerous other examples. So there are some north-south connections. As a matter of fact, the Suffolk County bus has 52 different routes that cover Nassau County. The Nassau County has 46 different routes that cover transportation in Nassau County. Huntington has 4 routes of the HART system that go around all in Huntington. So again, we were all very familiar with the Long Island Railroad and getting into the city, and that's obviously our best high quality service. But there are many transportation options that many people are using today to get to school, to get to work, to get to their doctors. That's critical to our economy. That needs support and continued funding. Now, one way that we decided to try to build awareness, and I don't know how many of you were familiar with it, was our second year this year, was we brought Car Free Day to Long Island. Car Free Day is an international event. It's celebrated every September 22nd around the world. We thought that it was a good program to have here on Long Island to build awareness to all of the commute options available. So Transit Solutions, along with 501 New York Rideshare, Paul Spreer, shout out to Paul, which is 501 New York Rideshare is a program similar to Transit Solutions, but funded by the New York State Department of Transportation, and they promote all commute alternatives, not just transit, carpooling, telecommuting, van pooling, and like. And then we also partnered with major employers, North Shore LIJ, Stony Brook, BNL, CA, Melville Chamber, Vision Long Island, Sustainable Long Island, U.S. Green Building Council, because we all have an interest in reducing the number of single occupancy vehicles. And the numbers are census data. In Nassau County, 70% of people drive alone. In Suffolk County, it's 80%. And that counts the people commuting into the cities. So when you pull that apart, there's studies of the Hauppauge Industrial Park, 95% of the people are driving to the Hauppauge Industrial Park as a single occupancy vehicle. And there's an overlay district that's going to build out buildings up, more. It's like, how do we do this? But anyway, Car Free Day, this past year, we had over 2,800 now people pledged to be car free or car light that day. We had sponsors that donated raffle prizes to make it a little fun. They can go to the website and pledge. We had many employers, whether it's schools or companies, promoting it to their employees, letting us come in and do transportation days to build awareness. And 70% of the people that pledged were usually driving alone. And the reason I'm really excited about that is, first, there's some of those people that carpool that day or rode their bike that day or used the bus that day or train that day that understood, hey, this might be something I could do more, but they also understood who else was using that and how important it was to them. So I was going out to the bike summit that Suffolk County held that day from Manhasset, and I took the N20 bus, from Manhasset and watched as the students got off at NYIT and CW Post and SUNY Old Westbury, and the workers got off at Hikesville to go to work. These are people. These are us. There's no, talk about people not getting on the bus. They're normal people taking the bus, transferring to another bus to get to where they got to go. Then I took the railroad from Hicksville out to Brentwood, the double track, site, where you had to really watch schedules to see could the train stop there or not, because most of the trains going the other way. So double track will be huge in terms of allowing more opportunities for people to use it. And then switch to a Suffolk County bus that took me right to the Hauppauge Industrial Park. Now, would I do that every day? Probably not, because I have my car and I'm moving to my car and I love my car. We all love our cars. But there are people that have to do it every day. There are other people that want to do it every day. And building awareness that yes, you can. Maybe you do it once a week, maybe you do it once a month. We'll reduce traffic, we'll reduce emissions. And so I encourage you next year to, as we do Car Free Day again next year, to get involved either personally or if you can leverage it within your organizations. We hope that this will be, the Earth Day for cars each September, and hope you will get involved. One last thing I just want to talk about briefly is the impact of technology.